I've been taking methylene blue for about 2 weeks, and so I thought I'd talk about methylene blue, what it is, and what I've experienced in the last fortnight. But on the Friday, I finished work early. I'd taken 12 drops of methylene blue in the morning, and then I took another 3 in the afternoon. I went and laid out in the sun. So I came back inside and I was just completely wiped out. My muscles were tired. I was tired. I just wanted to sleep. And I was like, oh, wow, what's going on here? And I was like, hi there, my name is Sue. If you haven't been to my channel before, I talk lots about the carnivore diet because it's worth sharing, but I'm also really interested in anything else that can help my health, and I'm always diving down rabbit holes looking at different things. And so one of those recently has been methylene blue. I'd heard of it, but I didn't know what it was, and I had seen Instagram pictures of people poking out their blue tongues, but never thought anything more about it. And it wasn't until I was looking at information about MTHFR and what that means for me with my health that I came across information about methylene blue and what it actually is and what it does. So if you've not heard about methylene blue, I'll just explain just briefly what it is. It was invented around 150 years ago as a textile dye. So it is a synthetic product. It is a salt of some sort. Okay, so it was created initially as a dye. They started using it to dye like tissue samples and things like that when they were doing things in laboratories, and then they started to also use it to dye bacteria and things. And so a German scientist was using it for, he was studying the parasites that cause malaria, and he used it on the parasites and it actually killed them. So they started using methylene blue as a cure for malaria. And so methylene blue was basically the beginning of the pharmaceutical industry and was the first drug. Now it's still used in hospitals all over the world. It's used for something called methaglobinemia, I think it is. And so that happens with different types of poisoning. So in particular, things like cyanide poisoning and carbon monoxide poisoning. So it's used in fairly large doses, usually by IV in hospitals for those sorts of things. There's tons and tons and tons of research on this stuff, and it has been shown to be really pretty safe and can be used in all sorts of doses and gets amazing results with many, many things. It is actually the thing that the term magic bullet was coined for, because it was seen as being a magic bullet for health because it does so many things. So one of the things that really interests me is the fact that it helps to repair damaged mitochondria. Reasons that I have decided to try it are the fact that from what I've seen, insufficient methylation can contribute to mitochondrial dysfunction, basically, because of the deficiencies and things that the MTHFR gene variation and resulting nutritional deficiencies can cause. So between that and the whole mold thing that I was exposed to for years, I'm kind of figured that this methylene blue probably wouldn't hurt and it actually might help. Mitochondria they are the little energy factories in our cells, our body, and they produce ATP. And so from what I've seen, those of us with MTHFR gene mutations can have problems with reduced ATP production because of the effects on the mitochondria. So if you've seen my earlier videos, if you've been watching as I've been going along, you'll know that a lot of my symptoms that I had prior to starting on the carnivore diet were to do with my neurological system and my heart. So I had some weird stuff that was going on in my heart. I was having dizzy spells and vertigo and all sorts of cognitive stuff going on. And I was kind of figuring that the mold was playing a big part, at least in the brain thing, as well as in my digestive issues. But the heart thing, I just kind of wasn't quite sure what was going on there, but there was definitely something that wasn't quite right. Now, looking into this mitochondria thing, The brain and the heart are basically the areas that are two of the biggest users of energy in our body. And because the brain and the heart are such big users of energy, they are going to potentially show signs of ongoing problems eventually. And I kind of figured that's what was happening. And so a big part of the reason why I decided to try Methylene Blue was because I'm figuring that my mitochondria just probably weren't working properly, and a lot of them had probably been damaged by the mold that I was exposed to, and potentially this MTHFR thing throughout my life. The other thing, of course, that had affected my health greatly, and probably still is to some extent, is my stress levels. And it's stress that seems to be, I don't know if it's part of my personality or something that's just gone haywire in my body, but I've spoken about this before. I feel like my body has been stuck in this fight or flight response for a very, very long time. And so all my life I've had issues around, anxiety, and I've had fairly decent chunks of time in the past where I've suffered badly with panic attacks and that sort of thing. And I've just always managed those on my own. I don't go and see anyone about them. I just find my way through them and eventually kind of come out the other side. So, but this has been something that's been ongoing, and because of that stress and that constant fight or flight thing that's going on in my body, it's been, I'm certain, undermining my health. It's been affecting my weight loss efforts and a whole bunch of other things probably. I was diagnosed with pyroluria when I was 50 years old. And then in recent months, I've just had it confirmed that I have these MTHFR gene variations. But part of that stress within me is this kind of conflict around people, dealing with people. And I mean, in life, you have to deal with people unless you're a hermit and stay home. And in my business, I'm dealing with people every day, one-on-one, which I really enjoy at the time. But it creates stress in me, especially first thing in the morning, and I'm not quite sure how to get past that, and that's one of the reasons I decided to try Methylene Blue as well. I'm actually reading a book at the moment. This book here was lent to me by one of my clients, and it's called Adventures with Emily, and it's about a woman who takes her 7-year-old daughter and decides to walk Te Araroa, which is the trail that goes from one end of New Zealand to the other, and it takes several months to do. But I read a piece in here yesterday that I thought that exactly describes me. So I'm going to read that to you so you can get some kind of picture of what I'm actually talking about, because I have trouble explaining this. So she says in here, someone once asked what triggers me, and I didn't really know what to say. But now that I think about it, it's often related to interactions with people. My desire to join and be accepted by them is in stark conflict with my instinct to withdraw and hide from these often volatile, unsafe creatures. As humans, we seem hardwired with the desire to be accepted and affirmed. Then, when we perceive that we are not, we suffer the burn of rejection and the deep shame that comes with being a social outcast. For my trauma-affected brain, this knee-jerk reaction brings about a violent change in my biochemistry. It's almost palpable. Have you ever sat quietly and watched a snail or a hermit crab timidly come out of its shell, searching, only to recoil and telescope itself back inside? During those moments of primal panic, no amount of coaxing will bring it back out in a hurry. It's taken me a long time to understand that I've become hardwired to perceive rejection and judgment from my fellow humans, and to preemptively hide my inner self from them. This place of relative safety has become a terribly lonely sanctuary. When I read that, it actually brought me to tears, and explains pretty much exactly what goes on in me, and always has done. So right since I was a child, it's really common in pyroluria, and they refer to it as being social anxiety. When I was diagnosed with pyroluria, Dr. Greg Emerson in Australia, who is who I went to, and he had got this big folder out and started asking me all these questions, and he asked me a question. He said to me, do you have an issue with fear? And I sat there and I said to him, holy shit, do I what? And he closed the folder up and he said, I don't need to ask anymore. He said, because someone who doesn't have pyroluria has no idea what I'm talking about, and they'll say, what do you mean? But when someone has pyroluria, they know exactly what that means because they're experiencing it. And so that has been me in throughout my life. Sometimes a little bit better, sometimes a little bit worse, but it's there all the time. And so working with people causes me stress. My instinctual place to be is by myself at home. But it's not my best place to be because people bring out the best in me. And so it's like this crazy conflict where I enjoy the company of people and I enjoy talking to people, but it also, depending on the day and the time and who it is and the stars, the moon, the sun, who knows, it just can create this really real discomfort in me as well. So this has been part of my stress that I've been dealing with. And so when I started reading about methylene blue and what it does, I got really intrigued because methylene blue, it crosses into the brain, so it has a real affinity for the brain cells and the heart cells. I think because there are so many mitochondria there. Some of what I've seen says that it can work in a similar way to microdosing with mushrooms. So, and it can help to get rid of like PTSD and trauma and that repetitive OCD type thinking in your mind. And so that was something that I'd actually been thinking about trying mushrooms, but that scares me. And so when I saw that methylene blue could potentially help with this, I decided to try it. So as I said, methylene blue there's many studies on it for all sorts of things. It has been shown to help with heart disease and Alzheimer's and mental issues. It's as an antidepressant with anxiety and PTSD, as I said. It helps with neurological disorders. It reduces oxidation and inflammation. And it also helps to boost autophagy, which I thought was interesting. And so fasting and using methylene blue can have quite profound benefits. So the way that people use this, there's different doctors online that are talking about it in different clinics where they're using it through IV. Some places make suppositories. Most people are just using the liquid in drop form. And so even though you can use bigger doses and bigger doses have been shown to be safe, a lot of people are microdosing with it, which is what I'm doing. So when I first started taking it, I was a bit scared. So I wasn't sure whether this was going to cause a detox reaction or whatever. So I started off on just 2 or 3 drops, I think, the first day. And then I've just gradually titrated up. And because I wasn't having any real issues with it, I have got myself up to between 20 and 25 drops a day currently. So 20 drops is 10 milligrams. Each drop is half a milligram with the 1% solution, which is what most people are selling and what most people are using. But dosages of anything between a half a milligram and 4 milligrams per kilo of body weight have been found to be safe and effective. To use that much, you really need to go to using troches or suppositories or that sort of thing where you can get a bigger dose. But many people find real benefits just with the microdosing. For me, as I said, I've been on it now for about 2 weeks, and what I have found is after I'd been on it for a few days and I had got up to about 10 drops a day, I think on the 3rd day, and then on the 4th day, so hubby's also taking it, and he had started taking, he went quite quickly up to like 20 drops, I think, and on that 4th day, we both ended up with diarrhea, and so we were going away for the weekend, so we backed it off, and then while we were away, started upping it again because everything was fine. We didn't have any more issue with diarrhea after that. And then since I've been home again, I have gone up to 12 drops in the morning and 10 drops at night. And then there was one day, probably about 3 or 4 days ago, I took 12 drops in the morning, and then I took 3 drops in the afternoon and went and lay down in the sun because the sun helps the mitochondria to function properly, and methylene blue is also activated by the sun. So when you're using methylene blue, it's helping to activate the mitochondria and repair those and get them working properly and in a better way. And then getting into the sun really helps to activate that as well more. The other thing that helps apparently is using either silver, colloidal silver or colloidal gold, or nano silver or nano gold with it as well. And the brand that I've been using actually has nano gold in it. I will link to them below, those drops. Using colloidal silver, colloidal gold, using red light therapy is also really beneficial. It's beneficial anyway, apparently, but with methylene blue, it helps to boost the effects of the methylene blue as well. What I'd noticed was in the mornings, for a couple of mornings while I was working with clients, the last couple of mornings last week when I was working with clients, I felt really good in the morning, but I was a bit tired in the afternoon, but didn't think too much of it. Sometimes that happens, just depending on my workload and which clients I've been seeing and all the rest of it. But on the Friday, I finished work early. I'd taken 12 drops of methylene blue in the morning, and then I took another 3 in the afternoon. I went and laid out in the sun. So the morning prior, I had gone and sat out in the sun. I think maybe a couple of mornings prior. I'd been out in the sun quite a bit over the weekend as well, last weekend. And then, on Friday afternoon, I took the 3 drops extra, went and laid in the sun. And what I found was once I was lying out in the sun, I just kept falling asleep. And in the end, I was like, I've got to go inside, otherwise I'm going to end up falling asleep here and getting really sunburned. So I came back inside and I was just completely wiped out. My muscles were tired. I was tired. I just wanted to sleep. And I was like, oh, wow, what's going on here? And I was like it all night. Ended up going to bed fairly early. I took another 10 drops before I went to bed. And then the next day, I did a little bit of digging online and came across a naturopath who uses methylene blue with some of his patients. And he was talking about how the detox side of things and the activation of the mitochondria can make you really tired. So I figured that's what was going on. So I've just dropped my dose back a bit and I just took 20 drops the next day. So 10 in the morning, 10 at night. And I felt amazing. Really, really good. Like the best that I have felt probably in a very long time. What I've found since I've been taking it is that I am starting to feel calmer, even when I'm with my clients. The last couple of days of last week, I just could feel that there was a difference. There was a shift in the way that I'm feeling. And the day after the sleepy day when I'd been in the sun, I just felt so good. I honestly have not felt like that for a very long time. So I'm quite excited about what's actually happening here. Yesterday, I didn't have that really good feeling, but pretty good, I'm feeling like I'm generally happier, and that's something that even though, since I've been on carnivore, I can't say that I've been depressed. I've had a lot of issues with depression in the past. I haven't been depressed, but there's just kind of this lack of joy. And I've been thinking about that quite a bit of late, and it's like, why is that still like that? There's just this kind of this like flatlining, it's like living in a flat line, and so that seems to be changing, which is pretty cool. The downsides of taking this is that your mouth goes blue. I still have blue on my tongue. Your mouth and your teeth go blue. What I do is I put it into a shot glass with a little bit of water and down it and try to get it down the back of my throat so it doesn't get all over my teeth in the morning anyway. And then at night time I actually wash it around my mouth because I'm wondering if it might help with my gums. So I purposely get it all around my mouth at night time. But in the morning I try and avoid my teeth. I found that brushing my teeth afterwards can help to get rid of some of it. If you've got any food stuck in your teeth, it actually makes that really stand out. So be aware of that. But apart from that, that's kind of the only downside, and peeing blue. So some people get quite perturbed because their urine turns blue. My husband, it's been interesting because my husband has been taking a higher dose before me, and we're taking about the same dose now, except he takes his all in one lump and I take mine in 2 lots, so morning and evening. But his urine has been really dark blue. Even like on the 3rd day taking it, his urine was really dark blue, whereas mine has never been dark blue. It's very pale blue. So I don't know whether that's because I'm heavier than him. I've got more fat cells. I don't know whether my body's using more of it. I don't know whether it's the difference in the way my digestive system works, or whether it's because I'm splitting my dose up. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but there is a definite difference in the way that this is passing through us. He hasn't really noticed a huge difference. He said he's feeling pretty good mentally, but apart from that, he's kind of not noticed a huge difference, whereas I've been noticing the mental side of things. I've actually had more energy, apart from the sleepy days or the sleepy times. I've had more energy and just generally feeling a whole lot better. So, and that's the thing, is like some people take it and don't notice any difference. Other people notice marked differences. Some people go through big detoxes with it and need to start really slow and really low and take it really slow. And I guess that depends on the condition of your body, how your mitochondria are functioning, how much of a toxic load you've got in your body, and all the rest of it. You know, we're all different. We're all, as I've said before, talking about the carnivore diet, we're all start from different starting places, and so it just depends on what your body's going to do with it as to how it's going to affect you and whether you're going to notice. If somebody really hasn't got anything much going on in their body, they're possibly not going to notice any difference from taking Methylene Blue, you know, if they're pretty healthy and everything's functioning well. So yeah, for me, I've never, like, I don't take any pharmaceutical drugs or anything. I very, very rarely take Panadol. I don't see doctors. But this, even though it's synthetic, it intrigued me, and my intuition, little light bulb thingy, spidey senses just went off, and I thought I need to look at that, and I have a feeling this might be of benefit for me. So that's why I'm taking it, and it's a really interesting substance. I think it is something that has been suppressed over the years, was my feeling, because it does so much. I think it's a bit of a threat to some industry out there, but you know what, it's the time for all these things to start coming out, and that's basically what's happening. So more and more people are finding out about Methylene Blue, more and more people are trying it and experiencing the benefits that it has to provide, to give. And I think as more naturopaths and even doctors find out about this stuff and how well it works for people, it has the potential to create some change. So yeah, so if you are thinking about trying Methylene Blue, the thing to be mindful of is if you are on any SSRI drugs, you need to work with your doctor on this, apparently, because it can cause serotonin syndrome, which can be life-threatening, or any kind of MOA inhibitor type drugs. So yeah, just to be mindful about that. So do your due diligence, be sensible about it, read up, do your own learning. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical practitioner. Don't take my advice on anything around this. I'm just sharing my experience and what's changing with me and my thoughts on all of this. So yeah, so that's it. If you have tried Methylene Blue and have had experience with it, let me know in the comments down below. If you're having any issues with it, if you've had any detox symptoms, if you are thinking about trying it, and if you've got any comments or questions, fire those away below as well. I thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you like this video, and I will talk to you again another day.